The dark-haired man in the kitchen had just opened his mouth to speak when Jack immediately handed him the sliced sea urchin. The brown-haired man was just about to start searching for something when Jack already had the tongs he needed ready. The girl with glasses was just preparing to serve the dishes when Jack had already opened the door for her. And no matter what the kitchen staff needed, Jack anticipated everything in advance, operating like a precise, flawless machine. What he relied on was actually a notebook filled with mysterious equations. But this born-to-be service industry prodigy originally wanted to become a mathematician like Euler or Gauss. However, when he arrived at the competition, he realized that his mathematical talent was no match for these gifted geniuses. Rather than being mediocre, he decided it was better to just give up. But Jack's act of turning in a blank exam paper deeply angered the principal. The principal stated that in all his years of running the school, he had never encountered a student who submitted a blank paper, and he immediately expelled Jack. With no other choice, Jack found a job in a kitchen to support himself. Coincidentally, that very evening, the principal was hosting a banquet. The guests were all school benefactors, so he had invited the rising star chef, Kevin, to be the head chef. All the guests were full of anticipation for the upcoming meal. Little did they know that Jack was part of this team, and the spaghetti Napoli he made was the main course on the menu. Once cooking began, Jack became completely focused. He started by soaking the forks in 50 degrees Celsius water. Then he peeled the onions. Chopping, prepping ingredients, stir-frying, and seasoning everything proceeded in an orderly manner. When handling the noodles, Jack surprisingly ran cold water over them, then covered them with plastic wrap and placed them in the refrigerator to chill. Jenny was completely baffled. Wouldn't the noodles become mushy if treated like this?
本日のメインディッシュ。
ナポリタンです。
Initially, everyone looked down on this ordinary dish. It was just a simple plate of pasta. How special could it be? But after tasting it, they all fell silent instantly, then burst into exclamations of amazement. The intense impact upon entering the mouth, the warm pasta paired with the sweetness of tomato, it slid smoothly down the throat. The excellent chewiness from the combination of green peppers, sausage, and onion created a magical chemical reaction with the pasta, as if they were originally a harmonious whole. The bespectacled man was initially unconvinced. No matter how good, wasn't it still made from low-end ingredients? But soon he found his own plate was already empty, and he could only stare longingly at the food on others' plates. Seeing this, the principal felt somewhat pleased. It seemed he could ask the school board for additional investment this time. But when Kevin introduced the head chef to him, the principal's smile vanished, because the head chef for this banquet was none other than Jack, whom he had just expelled. Kevin explained that the first time he met Jack, he was making pasta. Even back then, Jack had mastered the ultimate method of preparing spaghetti Napoli, first sautéing the onions to release their aroma, then adding the sausage and green peppers, allowing the sausage's flavor and fat to coat the pan. The most crucial step was pouring the tomato sauce directly onto the hot pan, rather than over the other ingredients as is commonly done. This rapidly heated the tomato sauce, achieving the ideal Maillard reaction and fully releasing the tomato's inherent aroma. The most unbelievable part was that Jack even knew to adjust the fork's temperature, setting the cutlery to the most comfortable range for the human body, precisely calculating even the moment guests would touch the utensils. And this pasta wasn't chewy at all. On the contrary, it was very soft, because the combination of sausage and green peppers already provided enough chewiness. To balance the texture, there was no need to insist on the noodles being al dente. Therefore, he marinated the noodles in red wine vinegar and mayonnaise before refrigerating them. Thus, this pasta achieved its uniquely mild and refreshing flavor. Kevin also took the opportunity to highlight that Jack perfectly blended mathematics with cooking, representing a model student excelling in both academic and practical skills for the school. The school board members cheered upon hearing this, declaring that Jack was exactly the talent they needed and prepared to grant the principal additional investment. The principal was stunned. He couldn't very well say that he had just expelled Jack, could he? So, he could only reluctantly lower his head and humiliatingly shake the hands of Jack, whom he had mocked not long before.